How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today I get enough questions about it, so let's just ask the question. Is Aurora, Colorado really somewhere you want to live? We're going to dive into it, starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons of moving to or around the Denver metro area or the Front Range for that matter, then this is the channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon you see on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And as much as I try to be a little creative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of the state's most talented realtors. And we're helping people move here each and every day. So the number and email you see, know that I am always the person, answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when in if you need me. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're really here for, and that is Aurora, Colorado really somewhere you want to live? All right, so I've always had an interesting thought process when it comes to Aurora, Colorado, because Aurora, to me, reminds me a lot of Lakewood, the suburb that I live in to the west of Denver. They are basically directly across from each other. They are both very large suburbs, and they are areas that have extremely desirable locations and areas where people would probably tell you, you don't want to be there, you don't want to live there, you don't want to visit there. However, overall, Aurora has one of the worst reputations of any suburb in all of Denver, and yet it is Colorado's third largest suburb. So obviously it's doing something right. So let's get rid of the hype for a minute. Let's get to the reality of, and that truth will lead us to both positives and negatives. So Aurora was originally founded in 1891, randomly called Fletcher after Donald Fletcher, but apparently we didn't like Donald very much because we changed it to Aurora early in the 1900s. Do you need to know that? Probably not, but here we are. Aurora today is now, as I mentioned, the third largest city in Colorado with a population a little over 386,000 people. And because of that, there's a lot of history. Now, Aurora, similar to Lakewood, doesn't necessarily have a distinct downtown area or a distinct historical district, if you will. It's kind of spread out. But places like Delaney Farm, Fitzsimmons Medical Center, you'll see a lot of history in and around Aurora, and especially within some of its communities. Now, while I will certainly jump into some of the negatives, yes, and Aurora has some negatives, let's start with some positives. Aurora is one of the most diverse communities in all of the Denver metro area. A lot of different cultures, a lot of melting pot, and that has really always been the case. Aurora's really thrived in that space. So because of that, you're going to see a lot of different communities, a lot of, really good food. Tell you what, anytime you see diversity, you see really good food. I ain't afraid to say it, I love eating in Aurora. So you'll see that, you'll see different shops, and you'll see different people just blending together in a way that you don't see at the same level in other suburbs of Denver. And while it is on the east side of town, a bit more flat than you might find in the suburbs to the west of Denver, Aurora still has plenty of outdoor things going on. Over 100 parks, 5,000 acres of open land and trails and open space. Home to Cherry Creek Reservoir, Aurora Reservoir. Cherry Creek will be great for boats. It's a larger reservoir there, and then Aurora Reservoir tucked in the southeast corner of the town. No motors, great for paddle boarding. It's got a beach, really close to some communities that we'll cover as we go through this video, but great area. So plenty of outdoor things to do, and despite being on the east side of town, still, if you're within, close driving range of Denver, 15-20 minutes, as you are anywhere in Aurora, you have a pretty quick drive to the mountains as well. It's not like you're taking an entire day trip to get into the Rocky Mountains if you're leaving from Aurora. And Aurora also has, if I didn't mention, 90 miles of hiking and biking trails. They've really thought about that. A lot of those newer developments, the High Canal trail line, that runs all the way into Littleton, going into the foothills. So some really great areas to explore. Things to do in Aurora, there are plenty of things. Obviously you can get to Denver pretty quick, but within Aurora, some of its bigger things, right around Stanley Marketplace, just a great market to go check out, but there's a lot of things in and around that community. Also within Aurora, you've got the Aurora Fox Arts Center that has theater and performance You also have the Plains Conservation Center, a great place to visit as well. So again, a lot of things to do in and around Aurora. And because of your location, obviously, you know, if you need to get into the city, you need to get into Denver, that is, for a sporting event, a concert, restaurants, it's right there for you. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, one of the things that gives Aurora this just, I don't know, miscalculated reputation of being just, I don't know, a bad town by some people is Aurora is massive. It's just a huge suburb. It stretches north of Denver. It's basically all east of Denver, running out darn near to Kansas as it continues to grow farther and farther east. And it stretches south all the way down to E470. So, or C470, E470. So this huge suburb. Within that, you have a ton of economic growth in Aurora. A lot of that centered around the Anschutz Medical Campus. That has been a huge, huge, prosperous, beneficial development, I'm trying to use all my keywords here, to Aurora. Right around Anschutz, you've got a CU campus, you've got a VA medical center that's massive, very popular, place that I go to for some care as well, all around that. So because of these developments, you have development around it. You've got apartments and homes and shopping centers and, you know, things for people to do, places for them to go and eat. So Anschutz has had a massive impact on Aurora, especially in that region. You've also got, at least for the time being, Buckley Space Force Base, Raytheon Technologies out in Aurora. So a lot of different businesses, again, a very thriving economy. You can't have, 386,000 people living in your community and not expect to have some of them employed in the area. So a lot going on in a very productive way for Aurora. And it's a good hub for businesses. A lot of people who need to be to the airport quickly, Aurora gives you pretty quick access. Even if you're towards the southern end of Aurora, you have pretty quick access to the airport. Again, quick access to downtown, quick access to the Denver Tech Center. So good location as far as the economic factors at play in the Denver metro area. Now, of all the reasons that people explore Aurora, at least among the most popular are going to be housing options. And that's going to come back to affordability, which we'll talk about. But Aurora is really a place where people tend to find, whether they are buying or renting, great value for their dollar. And that's not because, let's be clear, that's not because they're moving to a sleazy or a bad part of town. It's just because Aurora has a lot more size, a lot more space, and a lot more ability to grow. When you have flat land, and a lot of it, it's easier for developers to come in and build a variety. So if you want, a high-priced, really nice, home to buy or rent, you can find it. But if you're looking for something affordable, they also have a lot of different options. And it's not one of those situations where every new built home is a 4 or 5 bedroom monster. They're building some, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, reasonable starter homes. So Aurora, huge for that aspect. The other nice thing about Aurora, because of its size, is you have that variety. I again kind of compare it to Lakewood, where if you want to be closer and a bit more urban, closer to Denver, you have that ability. And then if you want to be farther out into the suburbs, you can get to areas like the Aurora Highlands, which is, growing in popularity and size very quickly. And then we'll talk about neighborhoods like South Shore and Talons Reach here in a second. And among these other developments, keep an eye on places like Painted Prairie and Saddle Rock, a lot of modern living there. And again, that median sales price, Aurora will tend to be among, if not the most affordable suburb of the Denver metro area. And running a close second for a lot of people that will look at Aurora is its school district. So Aurora is covered to some extent by Aurora Public Schools. A lot of Aurora, or a pretty significant section of Aurora, is covered by Cherry Creek school districts. And if you are looking at schools, Cherry Creek School District is going to continuously be ranked among the best in all of Denver and Colorado for that matter. So the fact that some areas of Aurora are covered by Cherry Creek School District pushes a lot of people to explore moving to Aurora. And then Adams and Arapahoe will cover, also highly rated. They will cover sections of Aurora as well. For higher education, you don't have to drive very far. Obviously, you have access to the schools there in Denver, but you've got the Community College of Aurora. And then again, as I mentioned, Anschutz, huge from a healthcare standpoint, for education. I've talked to a ton of people from this very channel moving to Aurora or wanting to be around Aurora because of positions that they were going to be seeking or have attained there at Anschutz. Now, best neighborhoods, I mean, there's a lot. And I've made some other videos about some great communities there in Aurora that I'm a fan of. Dam West, Dam East, Heather Ridge. I mean, I could go on and on. Seven Hills. I own a house there. But among the most popular, we got to start with the South Shore, the Southlands area. So Southeast Aurora, a big development. So you have the Southlands Walking Mall. Again, exactly what I said. A huge walking mall. You got a movie theater. You got an ice rink during the winter. You got a lot of shops. Restaurants. Mostly chains as far as restaurants, similar to Belmar and Lakewood. Again, I keep drawing those comparisons between Aurora and Lakewood. But there, around Southlands, I keep saying South Shore. My apologies. Is the neighborhood of South Shore, Talon's Reach, Blackstone. Just, I mean, great communities. I'm a huge fan of them. Really nice houses, large size properties at a good value. Some of them you have really quick access over to the Aurora Reservoir. Now, it's a little funny because some of the communities you can walk there really fast. You can leave your house, walk over to the Aurora Reservoir. If you're driving, there might be shortcuts for some of the community. I'm not sure of this, but you kind of have to wrap around. So even though the reservoir is right there, you can see it. It ends up being like a 15-minute drive, but still very quick access to one of the best water features, if you can call it that, in the Denver metro. And then if you don't want to be that far down, you get up towards areas like Central Park. Used to be called Stapleton back in the day. That's been changed to Central Park. Central Park, a very, very desirable area. A lot going on there. Parks, new developments, new schools, new everything. Extremely popular. I mentioned the Aurora Highlands and then Delmar Parkway. Also a very popular community within Aurora. All right, now I told you I would give you the truth in general, so let's jump into some of the truths or some of the myths or some of the reputations about Aurora from a negative standpoint. Now, truths, and we're gonna start lighthearted. Traffic. I'm not a fan of Aurora traffic. Because so much of the community is service roads, you've got a lot of dense neighborhoods. Traffic on the east side of town and through Aurora can be pretty brutal, pretty annoying, just because, I mean, you're dealing with lights, you're dealing with bottle up traffic. West side of town, you tend to have a cleaner flow of traffic. Now, west side of town has gotten worse, so maybe we're catching up to the east side, but as far as traffic, getting access, that can be annoying. The more concerning factors of Aurora that come up, first and foremost, is the reputation of safety. And let's be realistic. There are areas of Aurora that you are probably going to want to avoid. Now, Denver has a road called Colfax, and Colfax stretches through Aurora and heading west, goes through Lakewood, and Colfax has a reputation upon reputation upon reputation. I'll give you, again, a glorious example related to Lakewood, and to kind of hopefully give you some clarity on what these roads in these areas impact. So in Lakewood, the intersection of Colfax and Sheridan, which is Lakewood, basically right at Denver, that's where it crosses over into Denver and Lakewood. That intersection of Sheridan and Colfax receives the most 911 calls in all of the Denver metro area. Why does that matter? Because I own a home and lived in this home for more than 10 years that was not more than 5 to 6 blocks from that corner. And I felt good where I lived, I felt safe where I lived. I certainly had awareness of where I was and what was going on, especially as it got into the evening. But that is the difference between being in, I certainly wouldn't want to live personally on the corner of Colfax and Sheridan, but living a handful of blocks away. So there are going to be sections of Colfax, not the entire road, because some of Colfax is among the most desired areas. But along Colfax, you're going to see some hit or miss areas. You're going to want to do your due diligence as far as Aurora and looking up different crime stats and being aware of your more dense areas. I'm also a believer that if you explore areas, kind of poke your head around, you're going to get a feel. Your spidey sense is going to go off of whether or not it's the right fit for you from a community standpoint. Elephant in the room, you know, we had some stories out lately in the news, Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment buildings. I'll let you have fun with your Google search there. Yeah, there was some noise to it. There was some truth to it. And then there was a lot of shady stuff about the building owner and some huge question marks there. I'll say it was huge news out in Denver for a period of time. It's been months since I've heard or seen anything about it. So you're going to want to be aware of certain communities and do your due diligence again. But overall, I said it from the beginning. You don't have 386,000 people living in Aurora because the entire suburb is a dump. That's just not accurate. Now, a key factor that has been brought to my attention and is well known about Aurora is that there can be, or there exist, variations in not just your economic factors, but your school factors because of the size of Aurora. Because of its size, I mentioned some very popular school districts and some areas where schools are very highly rated. There are also some areas of Aurora where schools do get very poor ratings or below average ratings, where a lot of frustrations are voiced by parents and people of the community. So when you are exploring Aurora, especially obviously if you have some school age children or you know, soon to be school age children, you're going to want to do your due diligence there. You'll see the economic factors at play. You'll see, you know, certainly areas of Aurora that are, you know, well put together. The houses are nice, the neighborhoods are great, and then you'll run into areas of Aurora where things are pretty beat down. Yards aren't as taken care of. You can tell that the quality. I'm not talking about the people in the community, but you can talk about the community itself not being as well maintained. Again, I'll keep drawing the comparison. I see the same thing in Lakewood. There are areas of Lakewood that are they are less desirable than others. So within Aurora, you're going to find that. The bottom line is this: is Aurora somewhere you want to live? Well, if you like the idea of, yes, there are safe neighborhoods in Aurora. Yes, there are neighborhoods with good schools and parks and amenities and the things you want. And yes, a lot of them come at a price point better than you might find in a Lakewood, a Littleton, an Arvada. Aurora tends to gain a lot of people because of that affordability, and you do not have to make the decision to look into that affordability by risking your family. So a lot of positives to Aurora. It's one of the communities I get the most questions on, and certainly want to address it here today. And I'd love to have more conversations with you about it and to address any questions you may have. And that's a great opportunity to hit me up with a phone call, a text, an email. Know that I am always the person answering those. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. I am your host, Jimmy Everts. That was, is Aurora, Colorado really somewhere you want to live? Until I see you next time, peace.